one and all. Today we are going to discuss the summary and line-wise explanation of Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot, a poem by Alexander Pope. So, first of all, we have to see the background, or we have to understand the introduction of the poem. So, Alexander Pope, as we all know, was born in year 1688, a century when there was so much confusion in the society. People were torn between the extremes of religion, society, and politics. Pope, as a poet, wrote many satires. Pope and his friends were fondly named as Scribalians. Dr. Arbuthnot was Pope's friend, and he was hopelessly ill. He wrote to Pope that he should be very careful while attacking others, because Pope is writing satires. So he asked Pope not to take names or be very careful while satiring people, because Pope used to openly satire people. Before this, people do not use name. But now he is using names to satire. He directly used name or somewhat similar names to satire people. In this epistle also you will understand that he is taking open names and he is satiring. So Dr. Arbuthnot, Pope's friend, he warned Pope that he should be very careful while attacking others, and Pope wrote this poem as a reply in 1734. He told him that I am not fearful of that. I am not afraid of their resentment or their anger. I am I am a bit irritated with them. So he is writing all this, and he is telling his friend, and in curtains of telling his friend, in disguise of telling his friend, he is actually telling those writers or poet who were the budding one. He hated the budding one because at that time people were so confused in this century. People were so 17th century. People were so confused between religion, society, and politics, because that was an era of Newton, and that was an era of new sensibility, and that was an era of new findings, new discoveries. So people are very much confused. They are not able to understand that they should go towards the religion, or they should go towards the politics, or they should go towards the this literature. So the literary things are, or literary things are very much confused between these dimensions. Okay, so going further, this poem could be divided into many parts. While telling, because it is a long one, so I am dividing it into many parts. I will discuss it by dividing it into paragraphs, and we will take lines to understand, because it is very difficult for me to recite all the lines over here. We will only take the important line, but I will tell you the summary of all the lines. The poem opens with Pope ordering John, a servant. So John was a servant, and he is telling John to shut the door. Shut the door is the starting point. And Pope is afraid of letting in the budding poets, who are like dogs. He is comparing budding poets like dogs. He asked John to ties the knocker of the door. He thinks that the mental institution like Bedlam and Parnassus are let loose in the road. He finds the poets with paper in their hand and fire in their eyes. Pope is not left alone. Wherever he goes, he is followed by the budding poets. They came to him for complaining or for acceptance, and for they want him either to they are complaining Pope that he is not admiring them, he is not adoring them, he is not appreciating them. So he is saying that they are just like creepers, they are just climbing my wall, they are climbing the walls and shrubs. They got into his chariot and into his boat, and wherever he is going, they are coming with him. He is even they are even climbing the wheels of his chariot, and they are coming to him in the boats also, where Pope is going, they are coming to him. So they are irritating Pope, and Pope is very much irritated. In reply of Dr. Arbuthnot, that don't be so fearless and be very much aware, be very much careful while taking their names, he is replying in this way. So you can understand how bitter Pope is being with them in this poem. So Pope asked, Dr. Arbuthnot asked him to not to take the names, and he is comparing them with many names like dogs, donkeys, and many others. We will go further. He has used great imageries also. So they came to him in his house by climbing the wall or shrub. They get into the chariot and into his boat. They do not even leave him pray. They are not letting Pope pray also. Everyone blames Pope in some way or the other. All people come to Twickenham. Twickenham is the home of Pope. He named it Twickenham. And they scold the Pope that why are you not appreciating, or why are you writing the bad things about them. Pope finally addressed Dr. Arbuthnot as friend of my life. Pope finds his friend illness and the troublesome poet as a plague. He says that the sickness you are having and the troublesome budding poets are like plague. He is comparing them with plague, like a deadly disease, epidemic. He is comparing them with plague. So you can see how bitter Pope is being. Pope is confused on what to do and what not to do. He is quite irritated. If he has appreciated his poetry, if he appreciated their poetry, they overflow with more poems. If he says something negative about their poetry, they feel hurt. So Pope gives the advice of Horace to new poets. So Horace was a person who was a poet. He has given an advice that whenever you have written anything, keep the work with you in for 9 years, and before publishing the work, and keep doing improvements. Like you can see Wordsworth also follow this, and the Prelude is a product of that also, that he kept the work for many years, and then after his death or the day posthumously the work has been published. So he has given the advice of Horace, and Pope consider Horace his master, and most of the work of Pope is said to be the copy of Horace's work, because people charge him for copying Horace. So he gives advice of Horace to new poet. He asks them to wait for 9 years before publishing a poem. The writers are unable to accept this advice because they are very much in haste, and they are very much passionate about their writing. They want early results, and they are immature. So the writers are unable to accept his advice because they are immature and in haste. They ask Pope, they lack maturity. They ask Pope to make some correction in their poem. They also try to bribe him. Even they are bribing Pope that accept our work, because Pope was established poet, and they are asking Pope to accept his work or support his work so that they could also get a name. Some poets even blackmail him. Some poets even blackmailed him, and this is the charge Pope is claiming on the budding poet. And the second part contains from line number 69 to 124. You can note it down so that you can get the explanation according to that. You will not be in confusion that from where it's starting and where it's completing. The second part of the poem talks about the danger of being popular. So here Pope is discussing that what is the danger or what is the harm of being popular. Pope elaborates on the comparison of Midas. He ridicules the protesters by using Midas' image, which ultimately represent unreliability. Pope scolded a few poets like Cowley, Harley, Bavius, Bishop, Phillips, and Sappho. At this point, Arbuthnot warned Pope not to use name in his poem. He advises Pope to be prudent. Arbuthnot ridiculed Pope that he is twice as tall as Pope, but he never used any name. Pope is angry again. He is willing to be honest. He claims that he would not be called as cruel when he called a fool as a fool. So here he is taking direct names in his poetry. Pope is using direct name of whom, and he's criticizing directly. He is not using any hidden agendas or anything. He is just being very honest and very brutal and very bitter. And he has taken the name of whom. He openly scold poets like Cole, Harley, Bavius, Bishop, Phillips, and Sappho. You must remember all these names. You can get a question regarding this in NET and in MA exams also. So here Arbuthnot is asking or warning the Pope not to take the names, and says we always suggest our friends also when we are talking about somebody or we are backbiting somebody, so we say that or criticizing somebody at the back, so we say that please don't take names, because they will feel bad. If they will listen, they will see bad. But Pope is doing it very much in a fearless manner. He is taking the names. So Arbuthnot ridiculously says that Pope, listen, I am twice as tall as you, that I am much famous than you, I am twice famous than you, but I have never used any name. So be somewhat diplomatic. Arbuthnot here Pope is angry again, and he is saying that please don't stop me. I am being honest. He claims that he would not be called as cruel when he called a fool a fool. I am calling a spade a spade. I am calling a fool a fool. I am not doing anything bad. Then he talks about how a few dramatists approach him to recommend his scripts, which are rejected by theatres and production. Because Pope is a name, so many dramatists came to him, and they asked him for the somewhat support, or somewhat support from him, so he could recommend them to the writers or publishers, so their work get published. So Pope is saying that I am being very honest, and I never supported them. He said that few dramatists, even he is telling that I am a big name and people are coming to me. So somewhere you can see this also, that he is bragging that I am a big name. He said, then talks about how a few dramatists approach him to recommend scripts which are rejected by theatre and production. Like you go to some big hero and ask that please recommend me to, or you go to some big teachers and ask, or professors and ask your professor to please recommend me to the examiner so that I could get good marks, my PhD should be done, or recommend me for the this MPhil degree, or recommend me for Viva, etc. So they are taking favors. They are asking to take favors, and they are coming to Pope, and Pope is openly saying it in his work with the name. And think and imagine how bitter he is, and how true he is doing, and how honest he is saying that he is. But what will be the reaction of all this at his time? Just imagine that. Pope is angry again, and he is telling it. They all try to flatter Pope. Some say that Pope's nose is like Ovid, and they compare Pope with Hercules and Alexander. The great Pope does not listen to such flattery. He calls himself as an ordinary man. Here Pope is saying that they even goes to the limit of flattery, that they call that they say that your nose is like Ovid's, and they compare Pope with Hercules and Alexander. You know who is Hercules and Alexander? They are Greek god Hercules. He is a masculine figure. You could have seen him. And Alexander the Great. They are comparing him with Alexander the Great. And Pope does not listen to such flattery. He is saying, no, I am not listening to such flatteries. I am a very ordinary man. So he is bragging over here. You can see that he is bragging over here. But he is telling all the things. Might be it's not true, but he is saying it in poetry and in open way, that they are just flattering me, and I am not listening to the flattery. I am such an honest person. So the third part of this poem is saying this, and it is from 125 lines 125 to 146. This part talks about Pope's life as a writer. He starts explaining why he writes. He is telling why he is writing. He says that he wrote not out of any compulsion. He found it hard to learn numbers, but it is not hard for him to write poetry. So he is saying that he is not very good at mathematics, but he is very good at writing poetry. It is his talent. It is just because he has that talent. You cannot have that talent. Everybody cannot see. He is here. What he is doing? He is advocating the theory of sublime also you can understand, not theory of sublime, but you can see that the literary theory of criticism of Horace, that you should have some inner talent also to write poetry, should be natural. The poets are made, not born, not made. So he's saying that he is not compelling himself to write. It's not his earning, or his source of earning. He is writing because he is very good at it. Nobody asked him to write poetry, but he did it by himself. He writes because his friends like Swift, Granville, Congreve and other enjoyed reading his poetry. He is writing because he is very good at it. He is writing because his friends are enjoying his poetry, and he is writing for somebody. It's not like that we are doing any poetry or we are singing because I am very much getting training for it. I am an inborn. I am gifted. So he is saying here that he is gifted. I hope I am communicating you well. So he did not write poem for his personal reasons, like loving his wife. Arbuthnot asks why Pope published his work. Pope says that because his friends enjoyed reading his poetry. Arbuthnot was quite scolding. Dr. Arbuthnot was elder to him, and he was quite scolding to him. He said, why you are publishing all sort of work like this? So you could be a target to all that brutality, or all that fame, that you are very arrogant and you are very fearless and this and that. So you will be a part of the propaganda scandal. So he is saying that I am not writing to woo my wife, or reason is that I am loving my wife. Might be he is targeting Edmund Spenser also here, because Edmund Spenser has written his work to woo his wife, like the epithalmania, anamurati and propithalmania. You must have understood or remember that he is saying that I am not writing for my wife. Arbuthnot asked why Pope published his work. So his response is that because my friends enjoyed it, and he is taking the names of the friends also, that Congreve enjoyed it, so I am writing, and my friend Swift, Jonathan Swift is enjoying, and Granville is enjoying, so I am writing. They praise his work. Even Dryden encourages Pope to write the published poems, so Pope published them. So he is taking names, direct names, so telling him that I am writing because my friend wants to listen me. I am not writing for my wife and all. That I am not doing it for myself. I am not doing for my personal pleasure. My friends are enjoying, so I am writing, and it's my real talent, God gifted talent. I am not pressurizing myself. Part 4 of the poem that starts from 149 lines to 260 of this poem discusses about why Pope attack other poets through his satire. And now he is justifying or telling that why he is satiring everybody. Pope says that he does not care a little for those who find fault with him. He is very much okay if somebody is finding fault with him. He called them a donkey and fools. He sometimes tried to be friendly with them, but he tried to take them out of a dinner. In spite of all these, some cheap critics criticized him. Pope says that if this criticism is correct, he would have readily accepted it. Pope satirizes here Ambrose Phillips. Ambrose is a plagiarist. He copies work from Greek literature and earn money. If he attempt to be original, he will not cross 8 lines a year. Pope then criticizes Addison. So he is criticizing Ambrose Phillips openly, and he is a plagiarist. He is copying work from Greek literature, and he says to earn money. And he says that if he is going to write an original work, or if somebody asks him to write only his work, so he is not able to write 8 lines a year. So he is so bad at it. So he could not write 8 lines a year. Pope then criticizes Addison. He is openly criticizing Addison. And according to Pope, Addison is a genius. He is good writer. His defect is that he wants to dominate the literary world. He said that he is okay, he is genius, he can write, but he tries to dominate, he tries to supersede everybody. And he is telling everybody that he is telling everybody by his gesture that he is the greatest of all writers. He thinks that he is the greatest of all writers, but he is not. Pope Gall Addison a coward because Addison attacked many writers but he fears being attacked by them. Actually, Addison attacks many writers and he is having the fear that he should not be attacked by them. So, going further, he is taking names. You can understand and you can note it down that he is taking names. Then he attacked Lord Halifax and he says that Halifax loves being flattered. He helps the non-staters who flatter him. So now he is attacking this Lord Halifax, another poet. And he says that he loves flattery and he loves being flattered and he helps the poetasters who flatter him. So he is advocating and he is supporting all the poetasters, all the budding poets who are copying from here or there, because it is a time of neoclassics, and neoclassics are those who copy the work of ancient writers or ancient masters. So that is not considered as bad, but they should also put in some new things. Some creativity should also be added to the work. It's not just rewriting of the work. So the fifth part is from 261 to 304. This part describes this part is describing Pope's cruel attitude towards life and career. Pope asked the poetasters to leave him and leave him and let him live his life in a peaceful manner. He says that he lives in debt. He is someone normal who prays to God regularly. He says that only lies will fear his satire and attack. A man of good intention and honest behavior need not fear him. So he is saying that I am not very bad. I am not criticizing everybody. A person who is a liar, or a person who is really copying anybody, a person who is really doing bad should be having fear with me, not everybody. He says that only a liar will fear his satire and attack. A man of good intention and honest behavior need not to fear him. And then another, in the next part, that is from 305 to 333, Pope attacked Lord Hervey in the same name Sporus. He is not taking Lord Hervey's name directly here. He is taking his name as a Sporus. When Arbuthnot hears the name Sporus, he starts scolding him. Sporus is a man who drinks the milk of a donkey. So he is capable of only killing a butterfly with his wings. So he is saying that Lord Hervey is a Sporus, and what is Sporus? Sporus is a man who used to drink the milk of a donkey. So, and if somebody is drinking the milk of a donkey, he is a coward. He do not have the courage to go to the buffalo, do not have the courage to do some good things and good deeds. So he is saying that he is that the Lord Hervey or the Sporus is only capable of killing a butterfly with his wheels. He is such a senseless person. Who is a senseless person? Lord Hervey. A senseless person that he is not able to distinguish satire and other kind of poem. If poet is a paragon, if Pope is a paragon of independent judgment, Hervey is a man who will say anything to please the people at court and in government. He values glamour, sensual pleasure and social climbing. Hervey was also homosexual. Hervey is not only a man-woman but an animal demon and sharp changer like Satan. So here Pope is crossing the limit for Lord Hervey, and he is called in Sporus and the coward, and the Sporus are the person who used to drink the milk of a donkey, and they are coward enough to kill anybody. They can only harm butterfly with their wheels. And here Pope is saying that if I am a paragon of independent judgment, if you can say that I am the emblem of independent judgment, or I am very honest and do independent criticism and judgment, Hervey is a man who will say anything, and he is a man who can say anything to please anybody, and he can say all the lies to please the person in the court also, in the government also. He values glamour. He is valuing only glamour. He wants only glamour. He has nothing to do with the reality and the truth and honesty. Sensual pleasures, going for only sexual pleasures, and social climbing, and he is working for his social climbing. Hervey was also, and he is charging him of the assault of homosexual. He is saying that he is not only homosexual, he is a man woman. He is a He is a combination of man and woman traits, and he is an animal and demon. Sometimes he is an animal behaving like an animal, and sometimes like a demon. And that is very bad to say to any person, and you can understand how bitter Pope is in this poem. Shape changer, he can change the shape. Yeah, you says na that he is like chameleon. He can change the shape, second color. He can Makar, the word is makar or a yar, that can change the shape and become anybody else or accept anybody else's idea, like Satan. So, seventh part is from 334 to 419. This is the final draft of his self-portrait. Now he is telling that he is summing up the poem, and he is saying that this is the final part, and he is now saying and justifying why he is satiring everybody and why he is doing so. So summing up the virtues he wants Arbuthnot to believe that he has. He is summing up that he has some virtues also. It's not like he is telling being very bitter and being a part of propaganda, and he is a propagandist and he want all that. Pope says that he has never been a worshipper of fortune. He is never worshipping any fortune. He is just finding that he is lucky, so that he is so much famous. He is earning that name. He is bold, and he is bold and courageous. He is always bold and courageous. He has never flattered anyone for selfish reason, and he's saying that I have never flattered anyone for selfish reason. He attack his enemies and critics. He never flatter anybody, and moreover he attack his enemies and critics, and do real criticism. He claims that he was brought up well by his parents, and he's saying that it is not that I am cruel and I am not brought up well. I am brought up very well by my parents. His parents are peace loving, and they are very peace lover. So it's not that I want propagandas and scandals all the time, that I want to quarrel everybody. I am a peace loving person. They are good citizens of England. They led a happy domestic life. It's not that they are very much dissatisfied in their life, so they have treated me bad and I am like this. Pope also wants to live a similar life. Last part, that is the part 7, that is from 334 to 419. This poem contains 419 lines. Pope's final draft of his self-portrait, summing up the virtue he wants Arbuthnot to believe he has. He is saying that it is not that he is by default doing it everything because he is like that, or he is a frustrated man, or he is not having a good family life, or he is not having a fear of God. He is just bold and courageous. He says that he has never been a worshipper of fortune. He never thinks that he is getting everything by fortune or by luck. He earned it. He has does some efforts to gain all that. So he is not accepting those who are just asking for it without any talent. He has never flattered anyone for selfish reasons. So he is not even following the path which they are following. So he is not accepting it also. He has never flattered anyone for selfish reason, and he attacked his enemy and critic. He is very just also. He claims that he has brought up by his parents well, and the parents are very God fearing and God loving person. His parents are peace loving. They are good citizens of England. They led a happy domestic life, and he has never disobeyed his parents and never disobeyed his father. Pope always want to live a similar life. He concludes that the poem by praying that Arbuthnot should lead a happy, peaceful and prosperous life. He is wishing him prosperity, health and peace. So here I have discussed line wise summary, or line wise this poem line wise, and in the next audio I will discuss all the analysis. I am doing all the critical analysis. I will discuss imagery, I will discuss the poem, what is the background and why he is writing this letter, what is an epistle and everything. So do listen both of them. I will include it in a single video. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it will be helpful.